Minute 10 to Rockstar Row. During the so-called interrogation and torture scene in Parts and Service, or at least that's what people are calling it, based on the titles of videos on YouTube, Vanessa questions Freddy about Gregory and accuses Freddy of helping us, which I mean is true, but she shouldn't even have to accuse him. More on that later. After telling him that she's gonna leave him down there until he can get put on a new endo, which doesn't really make sense if his coding is the issue and not the endoskeleton itself, why would she leave to Rockstar Row through Roxy's lift? Why? When she could have easily just come our way and head into the main atrium. That's where Gregory is for the majority of the game, and that's where all the animatronics are patrolling and have been spotting him. It would make more sense to go there than to Rockstar Row, where he was seen maybe twice at this point. Like, I don't know, it seems weird to me. I don't understand. Maybe like the whole logic behind this is that since all the animatronics are out in the atrium, she doesn't need to be there, or maybe she needs to be somewhere where she can get to her Vanny suit quickly, but I don't know. Even if it is Vanessa taking over and not like glitch trap at this point, I still don't get why she wouldn't just go to the atrium. In at 9, bag of rocks. Before Vanessa leaves Freddy in Parts and Service, okay, she says that it's so that his casing can be put on a new endo after they probably have someone on the clock who can do it normally. But then after that, she doesn't seem to be suspicious that he's walking around in front of her maybe within like 3 minutes. What? Who would have repaired him if not for, like, if it wasn't Gregory? There's literally no other human in the Pizzaplex, or at least that's alive at this point, and you know, Freddy can't really do it himself. The whole cylinder thing is to protect humans. There are no staff bots in this section, and the only reason that you had to leave him was because nobody else was working. Hello? You there, McFly? Like, why would Vanessa be so chill about Freddy just like walking around in front of her? She literally left him with his head removed, and now she's like, what, assuming that he somehow did it himself, which is literally impossible as he was strapped down. Even if he had done it himself, why wouldn't she see him and then confine him to his room, especially after just accusing him of helping to protect Gregory? Okay, it's something that confuses me like so much, and I found it weird in my first playthrough, so I figured that if we got close to Vanessa, she would pull us out of Freddy, but like, I walked up to her to test it and nothing. She gave absolutely zero shits. Like, why? She's dumber than a bag of rocks at this point. It would have been so easy just to make like that little modification to her code for at least this part of the game, like making her a little bit more dangerous if she saw Freddy, but no, they didn't. In at 8, Princess Quest. The whole reason Princess Quest is a thing in this game was to lock Vanessa away in her brain and prevent her from regaining full control over her body. So why did William create or allow for the creation of a fail-safe in this system that allows her to escape? I mean, like, sure, they didn't expect a kid to come along and figure it out maybe, but first of all, it's an arcade machine, of course I'm gonna goddamn play it, but also given the track record of literally all of your plans, you'd think that Afton would have smartened up after like 40 years at the very least, but he doesn't, okay? It's like having a self-destruct button on the bomb that you plan to use to blow up Gotham City, okay? Or like it's like, I don't get it. It's like if the Joker had a purify water supply button just on him or something, okay? It's dumb. If you want something to work, why give it a way to fail? Or maybe that's just my brain and my perfectionism talking, but again, it's one of the dumbest things that Afton has actually ever done in the series. Like, canonically it doesn't backfire somehow, but that's aside the point. Like, but seriously, why would you have a way to undo your evil plans? A 4-year-old can do this. The fact that this wasn't the canon ending is actually just insane how that didn't happen. Just bury the third machine, at least, goddamn. Like, if that's the intention behind it, just bury it and leave it, okay? Fill it with concrete and leave it. Jeez. In at 7, paint cans. After starting the game and getting to the free roam section where you like have the tutorial for distracting animatronics, I just want to mention how goddamn lucky that is, okay? Like, one of the animatronics you're going to need to avoid, no matter how damn fine she is and how alluring she is, you still need to avoid her, is literally right there in front of you blocking your path. Yet, somehow, there is also a stack of paint cans randomly on in the middle of a random cart in the hall in front of you. Okay, why? That cart is also just for some reason blocking the hall that I'm sure multiple employees love having to walk around. But you know what? That's fine. It's fine that it's blocking the way because you can knock over the convenient and empty paint cans that are on top of it just so that Chica can come and investigate it. I don't, like, what? She's right next to the door that she ends up using to investigate it, so it's not like she's being inconvenient by taking that way. But like, still, and I get that it's for tutorial's sake, so like, oh yeah, this is how you do it, but like, in the context of their world, that's super lucky. Suspiciously lucky. And it's 6, security access. Gregory throughout his time in this game steals so many things from the Pizzaplex, not even including all the little like gift boxes you can find around the place. He also steals security badges and ends up getting enough to have level 7 clearance. It's like a 4-year-old or however old he is, okay? Doesn't matter in this case. It's really unclear how old he is or how tall he is because he can't ride the go-kart alone, but he can fit in Freddy's cake cavity, but he can also speak full sentences with proper grammar and knows more words than I do. Like, again, no idea how old he is, but no matter what, how is he able to gain level 7 clearance? How are these so readily available for him to steal? And how is it that taking these badges always triggers some form of event that makes everything worse? How are the security guards supposed to use these badges if this is what happens every time they take it? Or you know what, an even better question, how are these security badges just laying around in like really special containers when the security should just have them on their belt with their normal clearance level, okay? Because getting multiple level 1 passes doesn't end up adding up to a maximum of level 8 clearance. That's still level 1. It's just a lot of level 1. Okay, I don't get it. It makes no sense. It's stupid. How about doing a number 5, Glitched Freddy? Alright, hear me out. It seems highly convenient that we just so happen to be at the show where Freddy glitches out, and that seemingly, as we're led to believe, this glitch is what causes him to refuse the Afton virus code thing. Like, what? How? We're supposed to believe that this glitch, or this error is caused by Gregory, given the security threat message that pops up next to the silhouette of a child when we're actually like watching it from Freddy's perspective. But if that is true and we caused the glitch, how is a kid in a group full of kids a security threat when people are allowed to be in the Pizzaplex at this time? Like, sure, he didn't have a guest profile or whatever, but if Gregory was the glitch, wouldn't Freddy have glitched again after scanning us when we start the game? Honestly, I think that the hardest part to believe about this, strangely enough, is the fact that we were able to climb inside of Freddy while he was glitching out on stage without anyone noticing. Like, sure, maybe he wasn't on stage when we ended up climbing in, but a glitched animatronic is surely going to have some form of personnel around them so that they can get fixed up, especially when he is the headliner and it happened during a show. No way that he didn't go through parts and service before we actually end up meeting him in the first moments of the game. That's some strange, like, god level luck right there, okay? Is that really what happened? Jeez, that's some Talos level luck right there. Oh, praise mighty Talos. In it for Phaser Blaster. Okay, is it just me, or is a place like the Pizzaplex giving away a golden version of their laser gun totally far-fetched? Because that's the story that we're supposed to be believing when we get the blaster after winning. That winning this game was essential because it was the only way to obtain the prize of the Phaser Blaster that you can then run around and shoot people with. And when you do shoot those people, they will have a reaction no matter where you shoot them, as seen in the What If You Shoot Vanessa video here on YouTube. Which essentially means that this thing is a laser beam taser, okay? And I don't think that I should have to explain why that's a bad idea. So, why is not only this place giving away a laser taser, but also one that when shot disables your main feature animatronics? That seems like just literally the worst idea that you could think of. Almost as if they've never learned. Getting close to the end, into number 3, Destruction. And isn't it convenient that there is a way to break every other animatronic that isn't Freddy? Okay, that leaves the animatronic broken in such a way that we can remove whatever aspect we actually needed to upgrade Freddy? Hell yeah it is. It's so convenient, in fact, that there is somehow a way to break them that just works perfectly for their personality, and the perfect amount of the animatronics as well. That works the first time. And even with Chica, okay, we push her into a goddamn trash compactor and somehow don't get crushed ourselves despite her grabbing onto us and pulling us with her. We only get pulled down into another area of the Pizzaplex that we can still get back to the Pizzaplex through, and you know, we weren't pulled into a thing that crushed our skulls. So yeah, needless to say that looking at this logically, it makes absolutely zero sense that any of this actually happened. Okay, we didn't even need to crush the animatronics, and instead we could have just chilled in Freddy's room until 6 a.m. when the doors opened. Ultimately, in at number 2, staying until 6. Speaking of which, Glamrock Freddy straight up encourages Gregory to risk his life in order to get out of the Pizzaplex, when in all honesty, the safest thing to do would have just been to keep him in your stomach or in your green room until 6 a.m. Especially after the door closes and he was definitely stuck, which just, it makes no sense whatsoever if Freddy is really meant to be protecting Gregory. There was no need for the whole daycare secret escape hatch thing. You could have just gone back the way you came and everything would have been fine. You wouldn't have been suspicious since you would have at least appeared to be like you listened to Vanessa after you saw her in the healing area and went actually back to your room, and then Gregory would have been safe, especially after you knew that there was some crazy bunny running around the pizza place looking to slaughter him. So yeah, if Glamrock Freddy is like supposed to be protecting him, he did a horrible job at protecting this kid. Okay, I don't understand. You can think of all the excuses you want for him, but if Gregory had just waited in Freddy's green room, everything would have been fine. That's it. That's period. And finally, in at number 1, probable betrayal. I know that nobody wants to believe me on this, okay? We all want to hold out hope that finally one of the animatronics is going to be good and trying to help us, but Glamrock Freddy, after everything on this list, is almost certainly evil and just waiting for the perfect moment to strike. We've made a whole video about that, okay? And now, honestly, this one is kind of about that too. This guy makes some hella sketchy choices throughout our entire time at the Pizzaplex and only makes things worse for us. He takes us to get healed despite us saying no and having a limited time to leave, which ends up making us get locked inside the Pizzaplex. We also just sit in the booth and don't actually get healed, by the way, okay? He was unable to access the main Pizzaplex network despite having no reason to be disconnected, since at this point he wasn't suspected of helping us, and after Vanessa leaves Freddy without his head and parts in service, she sees him fully reassembled in less than 5 minutes and doesn't question it, like I said. Almost as if it was the plan the whole time. There's no way that he could have been put back together normally, and they just don't care, okay? The only way that this makes sense, any of this makes sense, is that if Freddy is secretly evil, and maybe even he doesn't know it. Maybe Afton is like in the back of his mind just like waiting to come forward. In at 10, Springlock. A lot of people still think that Afton died while being spring-locked in FNAF 3. And honestly, when the game came out, this was actually seemingly correct. I mean, we never really saw Afton go limp like he truly died, but for all intents and purposes, Afton was dead in FNAF 3. But then, as more games came out and more was added to the story and to the lore, Afton was shown to never have died in the game, since, you know, he was, as we now know, being kept alive by the one you should not have killed, who was possessing him as an individual and was keeping him alive so that he could continue to suffer for all of his crimes. So honestly, before William even started his whole always coming back thing, he came back from the dead, at least technically speaking, which I still think is damn impressive, okay? I haven't died before, even technically, unless we count like on the inside or my dreams, but hey, we don't need to talk about that at the start of a video, right? In at 9, explosion. Okay, so, well, physically speaking, William dies in The Man in Room 1280, the 3rd story from the 5th Fazbear Frights book. Quite extravagantly, might I add, exploding into a pile of mush right before a pastor's eyes. But like, how would that have been possible? How could William just have exploded like that? It's not something that you really think about, and I think I have an explanation, but it's certainly a bit more interesting than spontaneous combustion. William knew about possession and how it works, okay? He knew about agony and how his daughter got scooped and his son was crunched, so what if he tried to ensure his own survival by intentionally causing himself extreme agony, injecting or installing some form of explosive that when triggered or when in the vicinity of a Fazbear warehouse or trigger device would cause him to explode violently from the inside out, creating what is possibly one of the most agonizing ways to die, even in the FNAF series. I mean, this guy was absolutely mental, okay? Even potentially injecting himself with molten soul metal remnant in an effort to keep himself alive. So for me, it isn't out of the question that William inserted an explosive device into himself. But considering all that comes after this, glitch trap and whatnot, and the fact that Burn Trap still has William's body inside, I don't think that this one is really canon, and I don't think that this actually caused William to die. And if you're enjoying this video, guys, hit like, okay? It really helps us out, especially with the algorithm almighty. Praise be its name. So yeah, did you do it? Why the heck not? Okay, do it now, babe, please. And at 8, second spring lock. I say second, even though technically Afton's second trapping was in the books, but also some may not consider that possible in the main series, but you know what? In the context of the number, it makes sense. So, could William have suffered a spring lock failure before getting trapped in the spring Bonnie suit like we see in FNAF 3? It's possible. Explains why I say again as well, because, well, it would have been first, but it's again on this list. Since William is described to have scars that are consistent with a spring lock failure in the novels before becoming Springtrap. So, could it have happened in the games? Maybe. We don't really see William in a visual sense in the games, aside from him being purple. So, I don't know. Maybe William was the reason the spring lock suits were retired in the first place, since we hear of an unfortunate incident at the sister location. So, is that unfortunate incident William? There are plenty of people that it could be, none of which are named, but William having to deal with his own injury would certainly get them put out of commission for a time, but with William then continuing to use the suit to kill people and then putting it on again like we see in the FNAF 3 cutscene suggests that this scenario is unlikely, but you know what, it's still possible, so it's still a possible death. And at 7, stealing security badges. Not only is Gregory just a really weird kid in general who wears Fazbear merch but also doesn't know that Chica loves pizza, he's also a thief. This guy steals so many things from the Pizzaplex, not even including all the little gift boxes that you can find around that are only optional. He also steals the security badges and ends up getting enough to have level 7 clearance as like a 4-year-old or a 6-year-old or however old he is. Okay, it's really unclear. Because like he can't ride the go-kart alone, and he can fit inside of Freddy's chest cavity, but he can also speak full sentences with proper grammar and stuff. Okay, I have no idea how old he actually is, but he is still able to gain level 7 clearance. But like, how are they so readily available for him to steal? And how is it that taking these badges always triggers some event that makes everything worse for him? Like, how are the security guards supposed to like use these badges if that's what happens every time they take it? Or, an even better question actually, how are these security badges laying around in special containers when security should just have their pass with their clearance level on it, like on their belt? Okay, I don't get it. Plus, how does gaining multiple level 1 passes end up adding up to a level 8 clearance? That's all, it's still all level 1, okay? I don't get it. It makes absolutely no sense, and it's almost as if they set it up for him to see how long it would play out or something, or how well he would do. I don't know. And at 6, fire. Okay, so during the true ending, otherwise known as the Afton ending or the Burn Trap ending or whatever the hell you want to yell at me for not calling it ending, we have to fend off Burn Trap's attempts to take control over Freddy by setting him on fire using what I'm guessing are the mechanisms that Henry uses to set the fire in FNAF 6, since this is the same location. However, it's incredibly convenient how we fall into the room that has all of this stuff in it, that it has the monitors set up connected to the cameras in the various rooms that Burn Trap enters exclusively, with buttons that light the fires in the corresponding room that like has the camera on the monitor. Yeah, despite it being far more convenient for Henry to light all of them at the same time, I don't get how this works. Plus, I mean, like, if you think about it, how are these still working? It's clearly been a while, and some of the comments report that the Pizzaplex has been open for at least 4 years, which I don't know if it is accurate because, I mean, it's the YouTube comments. But if it is, these cameras and old-ass computers are still working 4 years after being set on fire that was enough to ruin the building. Not to mention also falling into a sinkhole that would have had to open up underneath it since we have to travel down an elevator to actually get into this section of the pizza place. How is all of this still working after all of that? And if you say that it was Vanny, that even adds more questions, like why make sure the fire systems are working and then they're set to being separate buttons? Plus, why have the computer monitors set up to look at the right area? I don't get it. And how are these these computer monitors are literal dinosaurs. How did they work before the fire, let alone after it? This is the kind of thing that demonstrates the line between luck and intent, because there was no way this many things lined up for him, excluding plot armor, because we kind of need to ignore protagonist syndrome for this entire list. But still, if this was just happening, that would not happen. Never. No way. Halfway through into number 5, Ice Cold Captive. Gregory in the Faster Blast ending actually orders the robots to disassemble Vanny, since she just ordered them to disassemble Freddy. But like, disassembling a robot and a human are two very different things. Okay, trust me, I would know. I'm surprised the robots even listened to him. Adding on to that, the fact that Gregory is willing to kill Vanny here, it's pretty messed up, especially given that like most people assume that he's 10 or 11, which doesn't really seem to make sense. Either way, you could argue that he doesn't know any better, but clearly he does. Okay, this kid is able to destroy all 3 animatronics without a moment's hesitation, use their upgrades on Freddy, he's willing to kill Vanny despite seemingly knowing her like we see in the best ending, and then he burns Burn Trap multiple times to make sure he doesn't take over Freddy. Okay, what the living hell is this kid doing? Like, how was he raised? How is he so nonchalant about literally doing all of this? This guy kills Vanny and then only gets emotional when he has to go talk to Freddy, who is destroyed. Dude, Vanny is bleeding out not 3 feet from you. She is torn to shreds and you're crying over a robot that can be fixed? Something isn't right about this kid. He's supposed to be the captive here, but he's the one putting everyone else in danger, I swear. In it for Recharge. What's the deal with airplane food and Glamrock Freddy and needing to recharge every 5 minutes, okay? Like, in the game sense, time isn't moving when I'm running around for 5 hours, since I haven't actually progressed the story. So if this animatronic is supposed to need to recharge every hour only, why is this such an issue? And why does he only use power when we're actually piloting him like a mech? If this is the case, shouldn't this man also be losing power when we summon him to grab us from the 3rd basement floor? Like, why not? And why does he need to recharge but seemingly all the other animatronics don't? I never see Chica, Roxy, or Monty in a recharge station. Okay, even if you are around when they should be, when the hour hits. Okay, it's stupid, it's confusing, and it doesn't make any sense. It's almost like Freddy is doing this to us on purpose, either because he thinks that it's funny, or maybe he really is working for Vanny, but needs to gain our trust and make excuses for why he can't be around us all the time, so that he can just go and give her the information, or why he can't just why we can't hide inside of him all night, okay? There's something fishy going on with this animatronic, and I swear in the next game we're going to figure out that he betrayed us off screen. Or at least in the DLC we're going to figure that out. Getting close to the end, in number 3, FNAF 6. Could William have been dead before FNAF 6 takes place? I think it's a possibility, technically, because like, what happened to Springtrap between games to cause such horrific warps to his body? Like, sure, he was burnt in FNAF 3, but we also see him alive and not all that damaged in Sister Location's Night 7 ending cutscene. So where did all of this additional damage and warping come from? The head becomes larger somehow, and so do the feet. I don't know, okay? This genuinely doesn't make any sense. We know that they're the same person, thanks to Ultimate Custom Night's voice lines, but I'm so confused as to what could have happened to cause this. I'm sure the extra damage comes from possibly fending off wild animals, since, you know, he's still a body, a rotting corpse that would attract scavengers. So how did the head of the suit get bigger? It's not like it evolved, it's not like it leveled up like freaking Magikarp from punching all these wolves. My only guess is that like, William either broke into a Fazbear warehouse and tried to like reassemble himself, or I don't know, maybe the gases from an actual decaying corpse, if he was dead prior to this, caused the head to expand, but even that wouldn't make sense. I don't know, we see so much damage. Maybe being a corpse just caused the suit to mess up because Scott was like, that's what I want. But ultimately, into number 2, the Blob. The true ending of FNAF Security Breach is seemingly one of the most interesting parts of the game because it contains a whole load of little things to watch out for. It also actually ends the game, which at this point I think is probably the best thing. After making our way into Burn Trap's area, Freddy is going to be taken over by Afton's newest form, and then it's up to Gregory to defeat him by using 3 monitors with corresponding buttons that activate fire and seemingly trigger his weakness, which is a whole other story. Players, you'll need to avoid the animatronics that come out after you, but you can use doors to lock them out, you can use Freddy to scare him off. There's a lot that you can do. And then when Burn Trap is finally burned even more, I guess at this point he's just trapped, because like in math it cancels out, right? The Blob, which was like a tentacle monster thing that was attacking us, then attacks Burn Trap, William, and then tries to make sure he doesn't get free, okay? Then we run away, but my question is, does the blob actually kill William? I don't know. Like, there are death animations in the game files, apparently, allegedly, I haven't seen them, but they weren't used, so we can't really consider that canon. Plus, the whole I always come back thing is definitely annoying, and I thought it would have ended before this game, but clearly not, so I don't know anymore. Just God, for fuck's sakes, please let William be dead. And finally, in at number 1, never died. Currently, what we know about Remnant and Agony tells us that to destroy it properly, we need to burn it, hence why there are so many damn fires in this series. FNAF 3, 6, and Security Breach all end with something or someone getting burned. FNAF 3's fire was all about dealing with Springtrap, FNAF 6 was about putting everyone who knew about the atrocities to rest, and then in FNAF 9 we burned Trap multiple times to try to get him to stop possessing Freddy. And then it's all because Henry learned that the only way to destroy Remnant and put these things to rest was through fire. But how is that really like, is that really the thing? Because, like, all 3 fires haven't really done anything. They haven't done shit. We've been told that fire is the only thing hot enough to burn off the Remnant, but it's also been described as Remnant liquid metal. So if the soul-infused metal can become a liquid, then how is it possible to just burn off the soul part? That's not how metallurgy works. I think it's metallurgy. I don't know. That's not how things work, okay? That's not how the universe works. Dr. Talbot is lying. He's William, alright? There's a whole video on it. Go check it out, alright? William is lying. He made up the fire thing so he couldn't be killed. In at 10, closed doors. Okay, so the reason we get stuck in the Pizzaplex in the first place in this game is because we don't make it to the doors before midnight and then they close on us. Somehow being unable to open again, despite that being a horrible safety hazard. But that's still awfully convenient for not only the game, but for Vanny and William Afton in general, right? I mean, it's not lucky for us, but this is about the game's luckiest moments. So how did that happen? Well, before the doors close, Freddy sends us to get a pass in order to free him from his green room, and then everything seems to go well for that part. But then, for some reason, without ever mentioning it before, Freddy tells us that he senses that we're broken and that he needs to bring us to medical so that we can get fixed up. Even though we are literally inside of him at the start of the game, and when he pulls us out he scans us, but this is suddenly a new problem. Well, we then get a run-in with Vanessa, and then Freddy fends her off, but other than that, we stay the same. We don't get healed, we don't get a band-aid, we get in the booth, instantly turn around and then start watching the scene in front of us, almost as if it was just to like build our trust with Freddy. After that, Freddy doesn't ever mention how we're broken or injured again, especially since after that little stop, even if you go full steam ahead the fastest you can go sprinting the entire time, you can't make it out the front doors. In 9, you're supposed to be on lockdown. Freddy, you're supposed to be on lockdown is the first line that we hear Vanessa say in this game, and it's also the start of the meeting that I just talked about. The one that we really shouldn't have had because we weren't injured? Yeah, well, interestingly, this conversation actually also describes how lucky we are. Firstly, if Freddy is supposed to be on lockdown, why is it just Freddy who is? Like, why? Is it because he glitched out? And if that is the case, wouldn't you be glad that he's working again? You know, for the company's sake? And secondly, it's incredible that Vanessa sees Freddy, tells him that he's supposed to be on lockdown, and then doesn't escort him back, allowing him to just roam free afterwards. And then she doesn't even continue to go the way she was walking. After scolding Freddy, she turns around and walks back the way she came while she was searching for us, facing even more towards us while we're in the booth, and doesn't notice the feet under the curtain or the kid watching from between the curtains. Weird, right? Especially when she's supposed to be looking for us. I don't know, it just seems off to me, okay? It's like a whole load of this game does. Oh, by the way, if you're liking this video and want to see more weird moments from Security Breach that shouldn't have happened, hit like and subscribe and let me know in the comments. In at 8, Pizza Maker. When we end up getting trapped by Chica, if you don't try to escape through all chips and you try to go the other way, we end up getting stuck in a security office with only one working door, which Chica is guarding. However, we also just so happen to have access to a monitor connected to the online Freddy Fazbear Pizza Maker, an online service where we remotely control a robot to make a pizza that just so happens to lure Chica away from us. That's way too convenient in my eyes. There is no way that we just so happen to run into this office, the one that has access to this despite Freddy being disconnected for the main server for whatever reason. This computer is connected to it. I mean, I don't know how this is possible. This is way too lucky for this to just be luck. Oh well, okay? I mean, maybe it's not so lucky. The first time I tried this minigame, I got stuck in the tomato sauce machine, and I made some very disturbing step animatronic jokes towards Chica because of it. Actually, no, that was pretty funny. And at 7, FNAF 3. Okay, look, the last few numbers may seem to make this not make sense, but listen, okay? Afton, in a sense, does die in FNAF 3, since this was meant to be the final game in the series until the fans were disappointed with the main jump scare, okay? So, prior to Scott releasing FNAF 4, William Afton was canonically dead, and the series was over. But after that, things were more complicated than they ever had been before. And many people do consider Afton dead after getting spring-locked, like I said, which isn't true, since he was being kept alive by the one he should not have killed, aka Crying Child. Oh yeah, you're gonna get mad at me, but it's true. But technically speaking, until the continuation of the story between the time of FNAF 3's release and the day before FNAF 4's release, William was dead. Oh, wait a second. He shows up in the final newspaper in the background, doesn't he? I don't know. Maybe he was never supposed to be dead, but the series was supposed to be. So as far as I'm concerned, if the series dies, so does the character. And it would have stayed that way too if it weren't for you meddling kids and your damn animatronics. Afton would have been dead in the spring Bonnie suit eventually, okay? Never being possessed by his son because he wasn't added. He would have eventually ended up shutting down just due to the wear of the animatronic, since Henry wouldn't have kept setting fires that would remove all the rust and whatnot. At least I think that's how it would work. And eventually he'd have been forgotten when Poppy Playtime came out, so yeah, this counts for me. Halfway through, into number 5, Henry. In the case of William Afton, his first victim was the daughter of his longtime business partner Henry, which is hella messed up because she was 3 at the time, that time being 1983. And this is also the year that Afton's life starts going downhill in the worst ways possible. But he starts off killing kids and then sticks with that MO throughout the rest of his criminal career. But the fact that his first victim was someone who trusted him, who didn't exactly suspect him even though her father did, is something that even I fear, and I'm not even a parent. So I can only imagine how this must have felt for Henry. And if that was me, I'd be doing a lot more than burning down restaurants in an attempt to put William down, okay? I'd be doing it with myself, with my bare hands. Especially if he had killed my daughter when she was only 3 years old, okay? Afton got lucky that Henry didn't have more initiative in my mind, okay? I have no idea why he didn't, because I'd rather go to jail for killing the man that killed my daughter than chase him for 50 years trying to burn him to the ground. But like, come on, okay? Who would really blame him too? Afton got so lucky that Henry is just a little who wants to use fire to stop him, okay? I wouldn't care about going to prison if Afton had killed my kid. No chance in hell, especially when she was that young. I would have choked him out with my bare hands and wrenched his neck. Also, hello to the jury. In it for zombie. There's also the possibility that Afton has been a zombie this entire time, and honestly, that makes me extremely angry. I'm masking it though. Because out of all the things that the FNAF series has done, this would be the cheapest and the worst. Forget Dream Theory, forget this all being a storybook, forget everything else. This would be the dumbest thing that FNAF could do, since it would basically come out of nowhere, okay? People already think that Michael is a zombie after getting innards shoved into him, but zombies aren't purple, guys, okay? And then making that into yet another, like, father-like son parallel would be so stupid and such a horrible retcon that it would be worse than it all being a dream, especially after establishing that Afton was being possessed prior to the spring locking, which would most likely have ended up with his death, and if he was made into a zombie, that would probably be his death point, okay? It would just change too much about the series for things to make sense, and would probably result in a whole lot of rage from the community, or at least I hope everyone would find this stupid enough to get mad at, because I would, and I want to be validated. Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Moondrop. While there are plenty of times that Gregory could have been made in this game, particularly when Freddy gets grabbed by the Moondrop animatronic right outside of Parts and Service, that should have been it. You're trying to tell me that the daycare attendant, the dude who really wants to get us, told Vanessa that Freddy was in Parts and Service in the room or whatever, but didn't mention that we were in the recharge station that was right next to it? I mean, like, he knew we were there. He waved at us while taking Freddy away. What? Then, when she talks to Freddy, she's talking as if she doesn't know that we're listening in. It's almost like they put on a show. Like, sure, the daycare attendant isn't able to get us if we're in a recharge station, but we clearly aren't invisible to him because he literally waves at us. So why wouldn't he inform Vanessa about this while mentioning Freddy? And if he did, why not bring that up when talking to Freddy instead of just asking him if he's helping us? It doesn't make sense. The daycare attendant not ratting on us is definitely a lucky moment, but I guess, I don't know, maybe he knows that snitches get stitches, or maybe since Moondrop is such a damn creeper, he wanted to save us for himself. Oh god. But ultimately, into number 2, destruction. Isn't it convenient that there is a way to break every animatronic that isn't Freddy, that leaves the animatronic broken in such a way that you can remove whatever aspect that you need to upgrade Freddy? Hell yeah it is. Like, it's so lucky that there is somehow a way to break each of these animatronics in like the perfect amount for the animatronics as well. There's no more and there's no less. We don't have to use the same thing twice. And it works the first time. Even like with Chica, okay? We push her into a trash compactor because she isn't actually crawling in, and then somehow we don't get crushed despite her grabbing onto us and trying to pull us with her. We only get pulled into another area of this mallplex thing that we can then get back to the main pizzaplex through, instead of just being pulled into the trash compactor and having our heads explode. So yeah, needless to say that looking at it logically, it's extremely lucky that there is a way to destroy each of the evil animatronics in a way that allows us to get their specific upgrades, even though we didn't really need to crush the animatronics, and instead could have just chilled in Freddy's room until 6 AM when the doors opened. And finally, in at number 1, canon ending. During the true ending, or the Afton, burn trap ending, whatever the hell you want to call it, everything we experience is so freaking insanely lucky, like beyond even protagonist standards of luck. We have to fend off Burn Trap's attempts to take control over Freddy by setting him on fire using what are most likely the systems that Henry used to set the same building on fire in FNAF 6. I mean, it's incredibly thoughtful of the ground to only give out at the perfect moments that we fall into the room that we need to, with very easy to understand monitors set up connected to cameras in the various rooms that Burn Trap enters, and only those rooms, with buttons that light fires in the rooms that correspond to what the monitor sees. Plus, I mean, like, you really gotta think about it. How are these still working? It's clearly been a while. These cameras and old computers are still working for an unknown amount of years after being set on fire that was enough to ruin the building. Not to mention after falling into a sinkhole that had to open up beneath it. How is this all still working after that? And not only after that, but all of these computer monitors are literal dinosaurs. Like, if you go into an abandoned school library, this is what you will see. How did they work before the fire, let alone after? Okay, my parents have a monitor like this and it doesn't work, and I'm certain we took better care of it than a decrepit pizza brand that's been set on fire multiple times. So I don't know how this happened.